It's not my problem. It's not my problem.
Oh, you're on mute, Dave.
Welcome to the Prospect Podcast. I'm Coach Human here. I'm with Coach D to my left, and I have our monthly guest, Georgia Miller, who really does a great job of helping with all the stuff within your mind for as an athlete. So we're really excited to talk to her. We're going to dive into some cool things today. I've become obsessed with this caricature. The ability to make all these, you can make cool thumbnails. Have you seen the thumbnail I made today?
I've seen some interesting things.
Yes, I mean I don't think I ever look like the person in the picture, but it always seems to make the women look better than like really look great, and it always seems to make us look exceptionally odd. So I don't know why. Right, Derek? Isn't it? Is amazing? Like they look great.
All in the eyes of the beholder, I guess.
They look phenomenal. and I'm looking at me, and I'm like, I don't know if that's exactly me, but I'll find it. Let me see if I have it here somewhere.
AI, close enough, I guess.
I don't know if I
don't know. It's I guess the new trend for.
Well, you know, it must be
a caricature.
Some sort of new what do you call it? They came up with overlay or whatever that they figured out that you can now do. Let me see if I can find this. I had it somewhere.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people obviously like, hey, do this, hey, do that, hey, type in this and see what it entails. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, let me see. I don't know if I'm able to. I think I am.
Interesting.
Is it showing? Maybe not. All right, I'll search for it later. It is on the thumbnail. So, but anyway, it's great to have you on. We're excited to talk with you. You know, we were talking before about before we started maybe a topic for today, and we're talk a little bit about injuries. So I think that obviously with the Lindsey Vaughn going down in the Winter Olympics, which by the way I haven't watched one iota of it. I don't know why, but
it's a constant staple. I've been watching everything. I've
been watching it. So you're different than I haven't watched.
I don't know. I just love the Olympics.
Yeah,
I really do.
Right. It's always on.
It's just there. Like it's a weird, when they're in different spots too. And look, obviously my hours with a newborn are a little different than others, so it helps that something's on at 5:30.
Oh, at night, late night, late night, right?
I'm at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, this is live. This is great. I'm the only one. I should start breaking news, but I don't know. My wife's big Olympian person, like the Olympics, whether it's winter, summer, it doesn't really matter. It's all whatever. But I'm like one of those that it's on.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best of the best. How can you not enjoy watching it?
It is so cool.
Even curling gets me going.
Totally. I find myself more so chat GBTing, like, what am I watching?
Right. What are the rules? Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because some of the breakdowns have gone into like, hey, if I type this into Google and it explains like downhill slalom, like what the actual, like what's the purpose? What are they supposed to be doing? They want to be spending. Yeah. So like they're definitely taking it to another level, which is kind of interesting. They have 4 years to figure it out every time. So kudos to these people because they do a lot more work than I would ever want to do.
So it kind of like brings it all, all to light, like injuries and how athletes begin to like how they handle it. It is a setback mentally that is very difficult, depending on the injury. Obviously, a short-term injury, not obviously as difficult, but especially fairly long-term injuries, stuff like ACLs or something that breaks or something like that. I would love for you to kind of dive in and talk a little bit about some of the things that you you have to help athletes through with respect to injury, because I think one of the things that athletes deal with is, will I ever be the same player again?
Oh,
Like, or can I improve after that injury? Like, am I going to be limited? So, and then, and then obviously the first times they compete on it, it may take them a couple of iterances before they really get back as far as where they feel comfortable. So talk a little bit about that kind of stuff, because that's always been a difficult thing. It was a difficult thing for me. I'm sure it's been difficult anytime Derek's had those kind of things. Talk about kind of some of the things that you see there and you try to help athletes with.
Yeah, right. I think you said one of the biggest worries, coach, is that athletes will worry, well, what if I lose all my skills? What if I'm not the same when I come back? What if I get re-injured? It's really like all those what if thoughts that creep into their minds. And then I know another really big challenge for them is just sitting and watching, because they really want to be out there, right? I always ask, well, what do you think is going to be the hardest part? Like, I usually try to just break it down into week by week. We take it just day by day for them. Like, okay, what's the hardest part about today? And usually they say just watching my team play, not being able to really contribute. And then especially if you're at a bigger level, like college or professional, you have that whole identity piece thrown in there, right? So like Lindsey
that's
Vonn,
what you are.
for example, she is a skier, right? Okay, you tear your ACL, and then like it's like, oh my gosh, like who am I? What am I without them, right?
I think that's just as big, the identity part. You're really like you kind of identified yourself as this person, especially when you're young. Like you poured yourself into this, and then it's like, okay, I can't do this for a while. Like, what do I do? Like, I'm used to going to practice. I'm used to working out. I'm used to, those kind of things. Like, I mean, you have to mentally adjust. The older you are, sometimes it can be more difficult. Sometimes it can be easier. It really depends on where they are. I think young athletes adjust much better. Really, really young athletes, like youth kids, probably adjust because they just go and find something else to do. High school athletes, as they, maybe they're, now they're stressing about where they can have opportunity at college, or will they lose their position? I think those become big thoughts, in high school. And in college, it really becomes identity. You know what I mean? Like high school, I think you do have an identity, but high school kids are teenagers. Like, they still like a variety of different things, even if they're locked in on a certain thing. But in college now, your identity, like people know you as this, right? And that becomes as big a part of it as anything else. When you get injured, like, I use myself. I had to sit out a year, had a back injury, and I remember like they'd be practicing, I'd be down in therapy, and at that point they said I couldn't play again, but I ended up coming back and playing. But I would just be like, I have so much time. Like I would do I would try to fill it as if I was playing still, which was kind of like odd. I don't know why that was the way I did it, but like I scheduled my therapy and my like stuff while they were practicing, because it kind of like allowed me to think of, even though I wasn't at all part, I had no idea what was even going on up there, but like it allowed me to stay focused. And then and I didn't have to answer questions if I showed up at practice and hung out there, and like I don't know if I could have handled it. So but I structured my own thing from that standpoint. So I don't know, like talk about like the different ages and the different stages, and some of the things that you try to help them work through.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that's really important that I'll tell athletes to an injury is making sure that you keep some sort of routine. And that's no matter how old you are, whether you're a 12-year-old or in college. But that routine is so important. If you just all of a sudden, you're not going to even PTs or practice, class, you're just like staying home all the time. You aren't being social with your friends. isolating yourself is going to make it 10 times harder. Right. So wake up, keep the same school schedule, go to practice, still feel like you're a part of the team because you are. Do your PT and AT exercises on the side so you feel like you're doing something. But the routine, like make sure you're getting out of the house and hanging out with your friends still. Like those are the things that are going to really help you and provide a sense of normalcy to your life too. Because as an athlete, you are used to go all the time.
Right.
So it's going to feel so weird if all of a sudden you just like stop everything. So try to keep as much normalcy to that as you can. So we really talk about like their routines and what they can continue doing and what they maybe need to add in or take away based on that.
I grew up in an era where college coaches were very mean. So I was like, when I had to sit out, I was just like, I'm gonna do my workouts and everything. I don't want to hear how many, from them, how many times, like, some sort of snark comment. So I was just like, yeah. So, I mean, that's different. College athletics is different. It's different now. Like you wouldn't get away with some of that stuff now, but
definitely not.
Yeah, definitely not. But you know what I'm talking about, right, Derek? Like back then, like even probably in your era, they probably still might have made some.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah. You get the snarky comments and you're just like,
which is why I think the development of like, especially at the higher levels, like coaches, like more high schoolish, even more so college, coaches and athletic trainers used to be almost against each other, right? Or, you know what I mean? Or they were maybe
they worked together.
Maybe they weren't, but they were put in a light where you don't want to be in the training room, right? Or really, you're going to the trainer, or just those are like, the comments. They were kind of like, I guess, like this, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't work together necessarily.
Right. Where now
they have no fear.
Complete opposite, right?
Yeah.
Of
now they don't even fear it.
Now it's, what do I have to do to get this guy back, right? So that he can be at his best. Or there's the open communication of, all right, hey, he might have an ankle, right? Let's get him on some rehab. Let's get him whatever. Hey, if you got to take him, send him out late to me at practice. Like total 180 of that world, right? So, and look, I'm very partial to this because the relationship between the coaches I had in college and the training staff was unbelievable, like absolutely unbelievable. Like our head coach and our head trainer literally met every single day, in season, off season, for at least a half hour, 45 minutes. Every day was a chunk of time, and they went through everybody of, hey, this guy's coming in, or like maybe he's a recruit, and you know what? Like, hey, he's had an ACL already. You know what I mean? He's got some of this. Like these conversations happened in the off season, so you could only imagine what they were like. So the working relationship between that, I think, is just changed so much. Right, where the mental side of injuries are part of the game, we understand it, but let's build you up so that you come back not only physically better, but mentally better, right? Yeah. That is a total 180 into, quote, the old school approach to stay out of the training room, right? Like, oh, you gotta go to the doctor, right? You know what I mean? Like, oh, really? Like, that's what's going to hold, you know what I mean? There's just that different outlook to it. I mean, hell, now we have to make sure that parents understand, like, there's a progression to this, right? Like if something happens, player needs to understand, you tell the coach tells the trainer tells the head coach, everyone's on make the next, we're all in this. You don't just go home, hey, I did this, and shoot, we're in the ER. Like,
right.
I think there's levels of it. I think social media and the openness of how things are now are very different. You know what I mean? It's not so hush hush. And I mean, damned if you told someone you were struggling mentally back in the day. Are you kidding me? Like, like you're talking about, like your ankle might be facing the other way, and your coach is like, walk off the field. Could you imagine if you told them, like, hey, I feel
like confidence is low.
Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to push through this one, coach. Like, like it's just a different approach to it, right? And I think players are more aware of it and their willingness to kind of understand that. But dealing with injuries at any level, I feel, especially they might be able to bounce back as a younger player, but when that first injury happens, like this is something real. Like you may have never been hurt before in your career, and now all of a sudden you roll an ankle and it's like you think you snapped your foot right off your body, or you have to go through the, well, what do I do? Do I lay here? And now everybody's coming on the court and they're figuring out what's going on. And then maybe you have to take a next step. Maybe you have to take an ambulance ride, or that stuff is extremely traumatizing if you've never dealt with it. So how do you deal with some of those things? Like, what are some of the strategies that you kind of, do you make them aware of it, or do you talk them through that post-injury, Georgia? Like, how do you approach it with guys that come to you, or females, right? Because look, injuries are across the board. We know it's, and also like, I think a big one that, how do you deal with mom and dad? Because look, an injury, like a real deal injury to one mom and dad might be like, hey, get up and go to another mom and dad, right? I mean, there are some we understand overbearing parents. And when injuries happen, like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like you can be, how do I deal with mom who's going to like boo-boo baby everything, and dad who may be on the opposite end of the spectrum of like,
get up and go.
Fine, yeah, let's go. Like, that's tough. You're in the middle.
Yeah, right. Well, and I think first of all, the first session that I have with an athlete, especially if they're coming to me off an injury, like sometimes I have zero clue too, which I love that when athletes, you hop on a call and you're like, hey, how'd your game go? They're like, oh, well, I tore my ACL. It's like, oh, great. All right.
You're like, let's pivot. Okay.
Let's pivot. We're going to boot what we had today. Yeah. So that first session is usually let's just sit in the suck. Right. I'm never like, okay, let's like be positive and talk about like what you can do now. It's like, what's the worst part about this? Let's just talk about how crappy it is. Right. Like, I think that's really important first and foremost. And I tell them that too. I'm like, let's not like move forward right now. Just like give yourself a beat.
We gotta like
sit in it. All right. Yeah. And then we start picking up and moving forward. But I'm a firm believer that injuries teach you something, especially when that's such a time of uncertainty. It builds so much character. And there's a good quote out there. I don't know who says it, but the times in uncertainty teach you things that certainty couldn't. Right. So, and you might not know why in the moment or what it's working you on. But when you look back months later, it's like, oh, that taught me resilience. That taught me patience. I think something cool that I see a lot with my athletes who are injured is maybe they had a lot of fear about making mistakes or getting pulled or not being good enough. And then they get injured and it completely goes away when they come back because they're just so freaking grateful to be back playing. They're like,
right. It adds a level of, that level of, like, oh, this could really like not be here.
Yeah.
Right. Something like this. And I think it adds a different level of appreciation. Maybe if you've always been like the best player and you've never missed anything, and now all of a sudden you've had to sit on the bench and kind of like, because you physically can't, it gives you more of a self-awareness of like, wow. Or it gives you like, hey, maybe I care about this a lot more than I thought. Like, holy hell, right? Like, okay. And I think at a young age, you're right. It builds some of that callous or some of that, like that grit of this could be just self-awareness of understanding what's going on, what's happening around you. And that like, no matter what's happening with me, like everything else is going to keep moving, like, so I better like understand what situation we're in.
Well, and it's, it's a good opportunity too. If coach is watching, your teammates are watching you, right? Like, what can you show coach about you during this time? If you're showing up, you're being positive, you're still asking, hey, coach, what can I do? Maybe you can take stats. Maybe you can go shag balls for the team that day, take score, whatever it is.
Right.
But that shows coach so much more about your character and your value than you playing healthy 100% of the time could ever show, right? That's a very important moment to show.
No doubt.
Onto this injury and show people what I'm about.
No doubt.
Yeah. And then the parents, you asked about the parents, Derek, right? It's interesting with the parents, I think that's why
they need their own session.
Their own session. Yeah. Right. And, just being that good ear for them and, just a good like cheerleader. What are your goals for the day? Let's kind of keep them focused on their new set of goals. So it's not about maybe getting a scholarship right now. Now it's just about healing your knee. And if you can bend it 1 degree more this week, yay, like making sure that you're really celebrating those mini wins and you aren't just completely brushing those under the rug. Like your athlete is going to need help finding perspective and getting themselves out of those negative ruts that they can easily fall into when they're injured.
No doubt about it. It's a very, very tough mental process for athletes, but I like that, like the routine, keeping them in a routine, keeping them doing things that they know they've done in the past, and keeping them on that schedule is a big deal. Because I've seen athletes that have gone in the opposite direction, and it's not a good time period for them. Like when they didn't stay focused, they just, some guys never recovered when they didn't stay focused. Like,
yeah, they're just gone. See you later. Like you never hear from them again.
Yep. They got injured. They're like, their mind shifted, and they got out of it, and they were just out of it. That was it. But it's that's important. Do you have discussions with them? Like especially with like more serious injuries that could take several months to come back or more. Do athletes ever start to question whether they want to play this sport? Do you ever have to coach them through that? Have athletes said, you know what, that's enough for me? Like, how do you kind of decipher whether that's just some levels of like depression is a big deal for athletes from that standpoint, right? Especially when your identity, and it's not depression in the same way as you see like people who are, really struggling with like life mental issues where you worry about.
Or it gets to that.
It could get to that, right? So you're right. There's stages to it, right? So there are stages to it, right? So you want to prevent them from getting to that level.
Cut it off.
That's the first part. Some of them, it's just questioning, do they want to come back? Do they not want to come back? So how do you work through that? Because that's a great point, Derek. That first, like almost like that stage one is like, okay, how important is it to me? And then stage two is like, I'm really depressed here. Like I'm not doing something I like, and maybe this is over. Like, so can you talk about that part? Because that's a real
thing.
Real thing. I've seen that even with young athletes, like, like when they're playing a sport, they love being in the game, right? It's different with younger kids because it's about playing for them to an extent, but they're like, man, they can't play. Like they're really upset. Like you almost have to pull them back. Like, no, you can't go in there, dude.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So, but it's a real thing. It happens at all stages. It's just that when
it's hard for them to understand that too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, wait, what do you mean I can't? I feel good, right? Because after that initial actual injury, dissipates or whatever, it's like 2-3 days, maybe for the most part, unless it's something catastrophic, right? And then you're really dealing with even more so of like, okay, this is surgery. This is what this is. Like, that's a whole different. So there definitely are levels, right? Yeah.
Right.
Hey, now you got to be in a cast, or here's your sling, or wait, what do you mean? I can do this. It's like you can't do this stuff, right? And I know you've dealt with it firsthand, Dave. Like, you know what I mean? Of like, hey, you're in a walking boot, and yes, you can walk, but you can't go run, or you can't play in like some of these things. You know what I mean? Like that stuff's really
you're
really
not going to heal if you don't stay up.
But for them, the process of now, right? So go to come to talk about your point, Georgia. The whole learning a lesson from it really creates this trust the process mentality at a young age if you're dealing with an injury that is going to take some time to heal, right? Like for example, I remember as a young kid breaking my wrist, right? And that was you were in a cast for 4 weeks and you had to figure that out. So it was, well, I guess this baseball season's done, but hey, you got to shift your focus to, look, you got to do everything you're supposed to so that you can play football, right? And I think that was a real thing at a young age. I think it was probably like 5th or 6th grade, right? Right around that, like, okay, like I get this. I can get this. You know what I mean? But my parents hammered that home. Like, hey, you want to be ready for football? You better listen and do everything you're supposed to when it comes to wearing this cast and not being crazy man and doing whatever, right? So, okay, you know. But I think the generation now, like, again, when's the last time you saw a kid in a cast?
Right. I know. I think we talked about that, right? Like,
we don't let them go out and play and do shit and break shit and like it's just, you know what I mean? Like, my wife and I go back and forth with if I hear her say, "Oh, be careful," one more time to my daughter, who, she wants to do a front flip off the couch. Like, she's got to learn that the floor is hard. Like, and you know, like, not that I'm going to allow her to do those things, but I can't have eyes on her and I can't like be that overbearing bubble parent all the time. You know, she's got to figure, look, she knows very well, like, hey, that's hot, right? Like, don't drink it if it's hot. You have that little sip, it's hot.
Yeah.
You got to learn. And now if she's not learning 5 times down the road, now we got some problems, right? And now I need to figure something else out. But I think you have to go through it to learn it. And a lot of parents will protect kids from it. And then I don't think the open communication and kind of understanding things, talking them through that process, right, as much as possible, just making them aware of everything that they're feeling, like, hey, you're going to be sad that you're not playing right now, right? Like, that shows me you care. Okay. But in order to move forward, sometimes we have to take a step back. And by that, we're saying you have to sit, you have to heal, you have to listen to the doctor. We can try to, or I think even like, you know, hey, we can try to, you know, if it's like a physical injury, right? Like, hey, we can do these certain things to help you. So it's still like playing, but it's not playing. Then you're creating that sense of like, when you have an injury, rehabbing or taking care of your body. I just think there's so many lessons you can kind of throw into it, but we kind of miss out on this opportunity because we're so worried about like, oh, we got to get them back, or they're missing this, or I paid for this and now they can't do it. Right? There's always a monetary gain, something to it. I just think that's something. It's such a opportunity to teach, and a lot of times because we're just in the shit, we're not focusing on that point.
Right, exactly. No, and I think a big conversation that I have with my athletes is last week with one of my softball players. She has some discs in her back that are very weird. I know, bad, awful injury. And I'm like, okay, you can push it and play in your tournaments the next few weekends, but would you rather coast at 60% the next year? And she's going to college in the fall. She's committed. Right? Coast into college at 60% or take 3 months off, like they're suggesting, come back 100%, take a month to work through the rest, and be great for the rest of your college career. You know, you got to put things into perspective. Yes, it will be a tough 3 months, but we got to think about future gains here. Yeah. Not missing your tournaments that aren't going to really matter because you're already committed to school, right?
Bigger picture. Like, who cares? You won a tournament in March of your whatever year, but guess what? Like, when you show up to camp and you're 60% because, you know, you won this tournament or just fought through this, whatever, instead of taking the time to heal, now what happens to your scholarship in a year?
Right. Well, and you said something important too, Derek. It's one of my junior hockey guys. He had a big, bad shoulder injury, surgery, knocked him out for 6 months. But we got him focused on, okay, you can't do any sort of upper body, but you can work your lower body. He knocked out so many lower body workouts. And then when he came back, he was so much faster on the ice. So, right, I think a very important aspect is getting athletes to focus on something that they might not have time to really focus on before the injury, right? Hey, use this time to strengthen your abs or your upper body if your lower body is injured. But it's a good opportunity to get them focused on something else.
No, that makes a ton of sense. And it's an important thing. It's a mentally important, like, so let's say there's an athlete that, like, take worst case scenario, just they're having a hard time just getting it together. Like they're not sure whether they want to continue to play. They're not sure about a lot. Like, how do you work through that to really kind of figure out how to get them back, and and then what if they come to you and say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore? Like, that's a whole different conversation, right? So, how do you work through that to figure out if that's really what the situation is, or they're just depressed about it? How do you do that?
Yeah, right. Well, and I think that's a necessary conversation to have with them all. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because for some
Right.
athletes, that's the first time in their life they see themselves in a role outside of athletics.
Sports. Yeah.
Right. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think this kind of correlates to quitting, right? Are you quitting because you don't love the sport anymore? Totally fine. But are you quitting because you don't like the pressure? You don't feel like you can get back to the same athlete that you once were, right? Those are different reasons. And then I tell athletes, like, we can work through this. And then it's right. You just got to narrow it down. And like Derek said, trust the process, small goals. We got to try to find some fun back with it. But for some athletes, that's the opportunity for them to, I actually like working and spending more time with my friends. And this helped me realize that. That's not a bad thing too. And that's not a conversation that we're going to solve in one session, right? That's going to be probably months of talking about it and really figuring out what they want.
I think that's a great point. A difficult one, but a great point. Like, very, very, something that they have to begin to really work through. It's difficult.
That sometimes is a meeting with the parents beforehand of like, hey, guess what? Like, he's not stopping, or, and then it puts you kind of in a really tough spot if that kid is now expressing like, I really liked my time not, or, hey, I really like just doing the book rather than like playing, right? Like, I just felt more. Now I think you'll get that a little bit more from maybe your non-top guys. Yeah. But if you're dealing with a middle school kid or maybe a freshman, sophomore that's really kind of questioning like what they really want to do moving forward, that can be a really, really tough spot and a really tough conversation to have and say, hey, mom, dad, like, just want you to know, like, he really doesn't want to do this anymore, but he has a plan, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's what parents like to hear, is they have a plan still.
He really enjoys this.
Like an anecdotal. This is anecdotal, but just it happened to me. It was extreme, and I went through all these stages. So, like, when I had a herniated discs or multiple discs in my back, they said I was done. I couldn't play anymore. And the first stage was, I was like, I was like, all right. They said I could go home, come back. You could start to do therapy when school starts. So I decided to go home, and I went home. I partied my ass off. I had a blast. I went through that stage of like, all right,
I had one of those in high school.
yeah, there you go. I was like,
sophomore.
This is great. Like, okay, like, I'm not, I'm just gonna be a regular guy. And then I went through the next stage of it. It was like, oh, like, that's not really who I am. Though that was fun, after a week or two of doing that, I was just like, okay, now I'm not really ready to give up on this, So, I went back. Luckily, I had a great physical therapist. She like eased me back into it. And it was really with life intentions, meaning like, let's get this to a spot where you can be okay for life. But then I walked in like a week or two into it, and I said, I want to see if I can come back. And so she helped me with that. And we took through a whole stage process of it. And so I went through that whole, like, trying to figure it out. I went and joined track for a while. And then I actually got back, as I was getting better, I started to really like think I could do it. And then I wanted to do it. But at first, my first reaction was, fuck it. Like, I'll go have a good time. I'll graduate. And then, so that's why I kind of asked that question, because that's a hard thing for your job, because athletes could say something that they don't really truly mean. Like, if I went in and met with you at that time, like a week after, I would be like, yeah, I don't care. You know what I mean? I'll just go and be a regular student. Maybe I'll go join track. I don't know, you know, like, but I'm okay. I'm cool with it. And that's would have been my reaction. And I would have been like, yeah, I'll just be a regular student. No big deal. And then my mind shifted, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
do you, if they're in a situation like that, do you like try to schedule regular appointments with them? Like let's say they're struggling with an injury, as opposed to like, hey, we're going to meet once a month to talk about this. Someone
Mhm.
gets with a certain catastrophic, like some sort of injury where they're going to be out for a while.
Mhm.
Do you like say, hey, listen, we should meet once a week to check on yourself, even if it's for a few minutes, just to see where you are, because then you can assess the different stages and see if there really is an issue or there's not an issue.
Yeah. Right.
What
Well, that first month is really important because you're going to go through a whole wide range of emotions. So even if, like, let's say you came to me, coach, and you're like, yeah, like I'm done with football. I'd be like, okay, yeah, like you can think that, but nothing needs to be decided right now. Like, why
Right.
does it need to be a decision right now? Right. Like, and I don't think any decision should be made when you're emotional, whether that's too excited, too mad, too sad,
Right.
too happy, whatever it is. Let's go through the range of emotions. Let's meet. Yeah, I would probably say once a week. Let's talk through everything that you're feeling, everything that you're doing. Let's set some small achievable goals the next week, right? And then over time, we can see what starts to really shed some light in what you want. But there's no harm in like fully committing to coming back and then deciding like when you start playing, right? I mean, there's no need to make a decision right away on that at all. Like, let's take some time, let's play it out, let's see how things progress, right? But something that you mentioned, Dave, which I think is really important, then sometimes I don't think coaches realize is how important they play a role in the athlete's recovery process. My athletes who are the most resilient through injuries and have a better time with it, their coach is usually on the other end asking them how they're doing. And that goes such a far way. Hey, how's he feeling today? How's the PT going?
Because sometimes those guys don't even pay attention, right? Like the higher the level, like you're just a body and a number, and it's like, see you later, you're gone. Like, and then when you come back, it's like, oh,
that's the reality.
Like, absolutely.
Not
like,
high school.
Really
high school coaches are really good about it. In my experience, like
most.
You're right. Most, but they're better. Well, they're in the school a lot of times with them, or they see them more. So even if they're hurt, like even if you don't teach them, or even if you're not a teacher in there, you're gonna run into them, right? So
by default, they have to ask you, "Hey, you okay?"
But in college, you're right. In college, you're right. If like you're out there in therapy land,
see you later, bro.
You don't see anybody.
Hell no, because you might be on the side and maybe like I'm sorry, but I have to be concerned with what I got to put on the field, and now I got to get your number 2 ready. Right. Yeah. Or I gotta maybe if you're not even a guy yet, they don't even know you're not. They're like, oh, where's
Nick Rapone used to do this to me, and he used to piss me off. Not when I had the back, because I was out. They thought I was out. So like basically people that just didn't talk.
Yeah, they thought your career was over. So they were like,
so they were nice to you because they just Well, they
thought
like, they were getting a scholarship back too.
Yeah, so, like, hey, bonus.
Yeah. So they were like, they're nice to but when I came back,
water bottle.
They're like, but they that's funny. But when I was fully back, and then I think it's spring ball, I don't know if it was that spring ball or their next spring ball, I had some sort of a long-term stinger where I couldn't lift my shoulder for a couple of months, so I had to sit out like the last couple of weeks in spring ball. And Nick Rapone, I love him to death, but he would just walk by me. I'd be standing there practicing. He would just walk by me like this.
Just shake his head.
And he would just do this over and over and over again, as if somehow that was going to accelerate my rehab.
Right. Yeah.
Like I wasn't like doing as fast as I could, but he would just walk by me. And obviously he would just be like, and this guy, he just retired. He was at Tampa Bay Bucks, right? So when you think like he's a great coach, like fantastic coach, but like that's kind of, and then football coaching, I'm sure hockey's like this. I'm sure lacrosse is probably to an extent like this. Rugby's probably any kind of super overly physical sport where guys do get injured on the regular, and coaches are always pissed off about it for the most part.
Well, because I mean, especially at that level where, you know, you've invested the recruiting aspect of it, and now like this guy's supposed to be a game changer for you.
For everyone.
Like he's helping you put food on the table for your daughter.
God,
and now it's like this guy, like, really, bro? Like, come on, dude. You know,
he's
what
like,
I mean?
see, so-and-so's out there playing. I guess he's
right. There's always a comparison, and football.
I'm like,
very,
he ain't
very
taking my job,
that.
coach. I'll be back.
Right?
You know,
yeah, like football is different when it comes to that because you are constantly in a state of physical discomfort or some type of injury, right?
That never goes away.
The only day you're healthy is the very first day of camp is like, that's the only day. You're always dealing with something. So that mental side in itself of it, like we tell our guys all the time, are you injured or are you hurt? Right? Like you got to understand that.
Yeah.
Because if you're not playing through some pain, then you might not be what we're expected. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to that, like you have to understand that. But it's hard when you go home and mommy or daddy, right, are, you know, like that's where I think for me, it was really good to have a father and coaches and people around you that could help differentiate that. Like, okay, hey, this is something that's going to be like ice, rest, you know what I mean? Like, and you'll be good to go by Friday. Or one where it's like, hey, no, we have to get an x-ray because you broke your collarbone. We got to really figure this one out. You know what I'm saying? Or just can talk you through it. You know, I referenced like an ankle injury where that first time I rolled my ankle, I swear to God, I thought I broke my entire lower leg. Like I was done. I'm like, I can't believe how much pain I'm in right now. And then 2 days later, you're like, oh, I should be okay. Right. But it's just at a young age, you just don't understand what that means. Like, what's the difference between it, right? It's even like a young kid that you know, falls, nothing's happening, but your reaction can cause her to cry because you reacted in a certain way of like,
they feel your stress, right? Yeah, and fear.
Fear is right, and the unknown. Look, think about it. Like ACLs used to be career enders for most people. Right. Or it was the rehab in itself was really that question of, do you want to go through this to only come back or be told you're only going to come back at this percentage? Now we see people like, you know, they're back in 6 months, or guys that blow Achilles, right? Like we're talking catastrophic injuries, right? That are really big deal. That used to be, hey, this career is over. Let's start thinking about something else. That now you can rehab and go through the process and you see it, right? Like Tommy John surgery. Like some guys now electively have it, right? Like, hey, I can get a few miles per hour faster. Like if that's your choice, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I tell athletes, I'm like, let's look up some articles. Let's look up some athletes that have had the same exact injury. And
so great.
Like, you know, read about it, be curious, do your research, stay away from like the negative Google searches of like, what's the worst that can happen? But, you know, how do your role models respond to things like this? And how
like, hey, guess what? You love this guy. Guess who tore his ACL as a sophomore in high school?
Exactly. Right. And how did he come back? Yeah.
That's why I think having a you around, or just, you know what I mean? It's just such a big thing that I would love for, you know, athletic programs in general. Just like you have an athletic trainer, have someone like you that comes in once or twice a week, sits down in an office, has some, hey, here's who I need you to talk to today, right? Like a couple of these guys are, you know, I can see they're struggling, or, hey, we've gotten some emails from some teachers or that kind of stuff. Like, and you do just like you would go see the athletic trainer for an injury, go see Coach Miller.
You're mental, right? And I have an interesting role through injuries, because I'm hearing all the time, right? Athletes who aren't wanting to listen to their ATs. Like they say, I'm limited reps today, but I feel fine. So my job isn't to tell them like, yeah, well, like do what you want to do, or no, you need to listen to the AT. My job is just to help them find a solution and make a decision, right? So I'm like, well, if you choose to do that, what are the consequences? And you're kind of navigating them. There's a good sense of autonomy and freedom within that, right? But they feel empowered to make their own decision. Like that's kind of my role within that. Whereas ATs, they play a very important role through the injury process too, because they're hearing all their worries and doubts, right?
Well, they're almost doing your job without the credential. You know what I'm saying? Because we all know you go in that training room it's either
They're
oh
hearing
my
everything.
God, it's like, oh my goodness, it's like going into a barber shop, right? Like
Yeah.
it literally is that, or a training session of like they're just puking it out, right? And it's who's pissed at this person, who's this. It's like they got to deal with it. Whereas it's like, hey, go talk to Coach Miller. Like she can handle this better than I can, because like I don't need to hear all this.
No, I tell ATs all the time. I'm like, you have my job. Like you do my job.
Absolutely, without the credentials. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you should have a stipend on top of it, because I think look, just that mental fortitude side of it is so impactful and so important. Just, I mean, you could single-handedly just go in with an approach of awareness,
Right.
and making guys aware of what you're feeling is totally normal, right? Like you're supposed to be down right now. Like you're supposed to be a little, quote, depressed, but it's not a state that we stay in. We have to continue to grow and improve and develop, just like if you were healthy and we were working out for the next season or getting prepared at practice for the next game. Because we've seen it. Like how many times have we seen, literally, we had this year, an NFL guy, right, scores a touchdown on Sunday and takes his own life that week, right? I mean, this stuff can escalate to something catastrophic if you allow it to kind of sit in the weeds and just kind of grow.
Yeah. Well, and going back to just coach's role in this, right? If the athlete doesn't think that coach supports them through their injury, they're going to feel so much pressure. They're going to worry about losing their spot. They're going to think about all the negatives. And then anxiety doesn't certainly not help aid in a quicker recovery process, right? So that's why it's completely out of your control how coach responds. But anytime I'm working with a coach, I'm like, just, hey, a quick text checking in on them goes a long way. So I try to just make sure they're doing that at least for their athletes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense.
God, it's just so crazy. Because Dave, you've dealt with it. I've dealt with it, right? Like we've dealt with injuries. I mean, you're talking
any athlete's going to deal with it.
For me personally, like, you know, I literally finished my playing career, right, November of 2007. And then I go to the doctor in December of that year and find out that I have a malignant sarcoma cancer in my right forearm. And you're like, whoa, right?
Really?
Like now we're really like talking to a whole different level of like, oh my goodness, like even my career, like here I was sports. And now we're worried about like, wow, like, am I going to have an arm? You know what I mean? Like a month after my career is now like, and that's you know, like something that I dealt with personally, and it all worked out in the long run. But that mental side of like, okay, you're going from seeing your team trainer of like, hey, let's get an x-ray and just see what this lump is, to your team doctor now handing you a card saying, hey, I want you to go see this oncologist, right? And you're going, oh, I know what oncology is. Like, what's the, you know, in such a bang, bang, bang type of situation, to now surgery. And now you can't shake hands at your, you know, senior year banquet with your coach because you're casted up after a surgery. And now you have to go and explain that of, well, what happened? Like you were good at the end of the season. What happened? Like, now you have to play
crazy.
Yes. And like, hey, now you got to take like all your classes. We got to withdraw because you're not going to be able to be there. You got to go through some of this stuff here. Let's deal with it and go. Really tough mentally. But had I not had injuries previously and dealt with some of those things, like, hey, continue to just trust it and move forward long term, it'll be better, whatever. I don't know if I would have been able to handle all that, especially like, you know, in a time where you're supposed to be, hey, I'm graduating college and what's the next phase of life? Like, you're already dealing with, I'm never going to play football again. Right. Now all of a sudden smash this thing into it. And you're like, really? I don't think I would have personally been able to handle that had I not had people around me or been through some of that stuff and given me some of those skills to kind of get through and how to handle it step by step. But it's a process in itself of acceptance, sitting in your shit, right? Understanding like it's not the end all be all. We can always make something work and just building towards it. It's a really key piece to it. And that's another side of like not only injuries, but or like, you know, tap in the, hey, your sport is now over. You're not going to the NFL. You're never going to play this again. right? And now you have some of these injuries that maybe were just kind of like a, hey, let's fix it to next season thing. Now you have to really like take care of it, or it's a lingering thing from those playing days, right? Like, I'm sure, Dave, you have injuries that like, oh shit, this is from all those years of banging into people, like, or then the CTE starts coming out and the movie Concussion, and opens up your eyes to like, is this going to be me when I'm 50, or what do I have to do? Like, there's a lot of things that go into that you need to build up 50. Those mental skills to deal with.
You said, is this going to be me at 50? That's how I know you're still young, because I'm 52. So hopefully,
buddy, but I'm turning 40 this year.
Hopefully I circumvented CTE. Hopefully I'm all right on that tip.
And I'll be honest, having kids opened my eyes personally to that even more so, of like, especially having them later in life, like a daughter that's 2.5, a newborn son, like, when they're at this age, where am I going to be at? Right? Like, am I still going to physically be able to like run around and do all this like crazy? Like, my thought is like, am I going to be able to like dance with my daughter at daughter daddy dances and all this shit? Or am I going to be like, oh, this knee replacement, I definitely need it, like, those are things that I think about, right? Because you've played the year, but the juice worth the squeeze type thing, right? Like, and then how do I approach it with them? Do I want them to go into that hardcore so that, look, you're going to be dealing with some of these things? Or my wife, who is a gymnast, like, and her back and issues and all those things that are going into it. Like, these are things of conversations and awareness, and having that, making them aware of like, these are some of the risks, but also like, here are some of the great things that happen, because there's so much more positive. But if these things happen, then we deal with them, because that's life. You can't program that stuff out. So there's just so much benefit to having those conversations at a younger age, especially now where I think that it's being made aware to kids at a younger age, right? Like, we didn't understand some of that stuff till we were in college, or it wasn't even brought up to us till we were in college. You just kind of went through it and were told what to do, and you just did it because you did it, right? Like, the trainer told you to heal up, and you were like, okay, you tell me what to do, because I can't go to ChatGPT and figure out, oh, well, if I tear my ACL, I should be doing this. Or that stuff, you weren't aware of that. There weren't people like yourself. I mean, maybe, but on what extreme, right? And if it was hush hush. Nobody knew who was seeing a psychologist or a shrink or any of those things, or going through some of those. You weren't publicly displaying those conversations, where now you see guys at the highest of levels advocating about it, right? Like, Sam Darnold just talked about in a podcast about how he, once all that stuff went down with him with the Jets and whatever, he started seeing someone on a weekly basis to get it out, and kind of like, all of those things. Or, Dak Prescott of the Cowboys. I mean, you're the quarterback for the Cowboys, and you're talking about like how you deal with things mentally, and you need to see somebody to help you. And guys are just so much in the public light now advocating for it, where it's part of like, everybody's got a you on staff now.
Yeah, they do. Right. And it makes sense. I mean, if your mind isn't right, there's no way those amazing, awesome abilities are going to be able to shine through. Right. And I like what I tell athletes who are like really wary. I'm like, I'm just another coach. I'm AT, PT, strength coach, right? Like, mental coach. I'm training your thoughts, your brain up. That's all we're working on together.
Right. Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's something that's very, very difficult, because it's relied a lot of times on the coaches or the parents, and they're not equipped to really. They're equipped in their own role, but not equipped for the role that like what you do. And it's very, very difficult, because kids don't want to listen to their parents, and sometimes they don't want to discuss that with their coach either, because there's like things are like, people could say as much as they want, but like, there's always a transactional basis to each thing. Like with coaches, there's a transactional basis to it. You know what I mean? There are coaches that care about it more than others, but there's a transactional basis, is getting them back to play. And from a parent, it's, do you want to do this? Tough it out, whatever it is, right? Like there's that, but like your role is less transactional on that side, because you're not invested one way or the other.
Very objective.
In their athletic success. Yes, like, it's it definitely looks good when they have athletic success. But it's not up to you to have their athletic success. And I think that's a really good point. And but it's still very hard. Like the whole mental space is such a difficult area because
you can't take an X-ray and see that it's broke.
Right. So it's invisible and you can't tell if you're working on it. And whereas like
you invest in like, see, schools are paying somebody to be on staff, right? Full time. But when you as a third party go and do about it, like you think about all the things you're investing in, right? As a parent, like in high school and youth, and it becomes the last thing that you do. Like I used it when there's actually a site that does this stuff for kids, and I used it and actually, it wasn't just about athletics. It was like, for kids in school and stuff too, like when they get frustrated. And it was like a group Zoom thing, which I thought it was good for a while, but it was good to get like the kids to recognize their things that they might be feeling or going through. And I thought it was really good. Like I utilized it with my kid a couple of years ago when he would in school or in a super intense, like competition wise, and if it doesn't go his way even in school, like would really be frustrated, right? But it helped talking. But then there got to a point, like that's why I say, like, there's a point where then they even check out there, right? Like when the kids do, because they're like, oh, why am I doing this? And that's the whole thing that, like, I think one-on-one is really much better. But then parents are trying to figure out, okay, now I'm investing in all this, and now how do I got to invest more in this, right? Too, like,
right. Like maybe you have one of those more mental type of children who they are constantly over analyzing or overthinking.
When does it end? When does the investment end? Right. So like, yeah, that's the biggest part. So
when they go off my insurance.
Well, actually, that's a good question. Does that go off? I think
that's covered. There are there are insurance companies that cover that side of it. That's just like going to an annual doctor appointment. You may only get a certain amount of, you may only be able to see certain people or whatever. Yeah, there might be a limit to it, and then it's like an out-of-pocket expense or whatever. But absolutely, I've done a lot of research when it comes to like actually like what like insurance is there. What does it actually get me? Because there are, hey, you can go see a nutritionist or you can whatever. You just got to find those, like, I don't want to call them loopholes, but they're the smaller print within your insurance that, as someone who lives, paycheck to paycheck in a way by choice, right? Like I want to know exactly if I'm paying for it, then I'm going to squeeze everything I can out of it, whereas most people, it's just like, hey, well, whatever, what's the norm? But it's not like I can go off of like how my parents did it, because they're from a different generation of this maybe didn't even exist or there wasn't a concern. But, I see my daughter at such a young age and she is an overanalyzer, right? I understand that there's an age capacity to the questions about everything of why, what, like that's part of the stage. But also like, at what point is it, okay, maybe we should like look at this a little bit and just maybe that's who she is, not good, bad, and different. Like, how can I make that a positive thing and not it be into some overly concerning, like what 2.5-year-old needs to make sure that the lights are always off and the doors are always closed because of her OCD. I mean, hey, daddy, let's make sure my blanket is flat on my bed, like, because, and my dolls and my babies need to be this way. And like, it's like, I am so sorry, my dear, because daddy gave you that, like that OCD. No. Like, but I also want her to use that as a positive thing, right? And I don't want it to have to feel like that's an overbearing thing for her, right? Even at a young age. And people are like, well, she's just being a kid. Well, that's great. I'm just going to monitor it and
make sure she's applying it to the right things.
And it's a positive for her, and it's not taking away from something else because she needs to have like daddy, my socks are different. I'm like, oh, I like that. But like, also like, let's not be crazy about your socks having to be the same brand or whatever. That's daddy's concern, right? Like, and I'm sorry that that's what it is, but let's develop those skills to kind of use that for you personally to help you, not hinder or hold you back.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. I've worked with so many athletes who have done the general counseling, more clinical route. And then they come see me and they relate to the sport psychology so much more because one, who doesn't want to get better at their sport, but then
Right.
and it's a lot easier for them to talk about and then easier to apply to other areas of their life.
Yes.
For general counseling, it's like all I want to do is talk about my sport, but they just have a harder time applying it to their sport. Whereas with me, it's one, easier for them to talk about, they're seeing better results, and then it's bleeding into other areas of their life.
Right. That makes a ton of sense. No,
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And that's what they know.
It's what they know.
And what they love to do.
Mhm.
Right. So if that passion for the one thing that they really, really love, you can spin it to like, this is going to help you with that. But it can also help you. It just helps you with everything else, right? Because now it can trickle down, and hey, you can use it with this. You can use it in school, like treat school like this, or this, or that feeling that you're feeling here. You can just relate it all to when you relate it to something that they care about and that they understand a little bit more than the other thing. That other stuff will now catch up, right? Am I wrong in thinking that, or is that kind of on par?
That's definitely on par. And, I always offer free, just 15, 20-minute consults, especially for my guys who are teens, early college years, right? They're like, oh, I don't know about this, right? And as soon as they meet me and they're like, oh, she can talk football. Like, oh, this is all
I was going to ask that. For you being a female, right? Like, is that somewhat of a deterrent? Like, what does she know about football? Or what does she know about this?
Yes, which is why I like to meet them first. I'm like, no pressure. Let's just see if this is a good fit. And before you commit to something more serious. And then as soon as they realize, oh, it's not all about like feelings and emotions, or like, oh, okay. Like I just met with a baseball player.
Because for me personally, I know that would have been a deterrent. Like, I'm not meeting her. Like, I'm going to tell her, because I'm not sitting on a couch talking about feelings, right? Because that's the picture that's painted in your head of what it is. I know for me as a teen and even probably into college, to go and speak to a female about those types of things, like just the era I was raised and kind of like the coaches, like coaching aspect of how it was like that would have been, quote, sissy talk, right? Or whatever that is. It has that negative title to it, right? And so for me, that would have taken a little bit more of a push. Now, once it was related to like, hey, this is going to help you do better, like 100%, I'd be like, all right, I don't care who I'm talking to, right? But I think that initial, like, that would have been a hoop that I would have to jump through personally.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree too. Probably me at that age. But I'm also at an advantage, right? I understand football culture, baseball culture, like there's certain nuances about every sport. Like my brother played and dad played at Michigan State. My dad was in the NFL. Like I understand what that world is like, and not 100%. A lot of other, right. So it's important that you find the right person who you can connect
yes
with.
That's big too. Yes, you want to find the right niche, right? Like I know my daughter growing up with me coaching and understand, like she'll get it, right? Or even like my sister who was a higher level athlete, like she gets it with her kids, where her husband wasn't really that higher level of an athlete, and he was more of like, that militant structure, discipline, army type of background, right? With family like that. Like, so his approach and my sister's approach is very different when it comes to that, but she gets it from that perspective because she grew up around it, or she played high level sports, right? Like, so that's 100% have to find the right fit when it comes to individual and knowing like who you are as a person, like what's going to work for you.
Right. Yeah. I always encourage people. I'm like, don't just meet with me, like go have a couple trials, go meet a couple other people. That way you can really figure out what you want, what's best for you. Then you can make a decision.
That's a great point. Great point. Great stuff. Really, really great stuff. An hour flew by. Wow. It flew by. You're good. Now, you're a professor at Springfield too. How do you are you still in Florida while you're a professor?
Yes, it's virtual.
Yeah, must be nice. Be nice, by the way.
Virtual class, yeah.
We haven't been over 25 degrees here in like 3-4 weeks, right? And like here you are, like just must be loving life, even though it was a little cold, right? I'm sure those people were out there in like parkas.
They were. It got to 35 here in the mornings.
Floridians must have lost their mind. Like, hey, we moved down here for a reason, and this is crazy. We see all this stuff about the iguanas freezing and
dropping from trees. I know. Iguanas.
I can't.
Really?
Well, their body temperature lowers so much that they go into like a freeze state, right? Like, Walt
Yeah.
Disney's Frozen somewhere, the deal? Like, hey, Demolition Man, Sylvester Stallone, like he freezes, comes back 20 years later.
Yeah.
Their body temperature lowers so much that they're still alive, but they're literally like a catatonic
like paralyzed.
Yeah. So like they literally like there's videos of people just like collecting iguanas, like, hey, like they're gonna wake up at some point once their body temperature goes
Just
back.
leave them.
Yeah, just please.
That's like a protection mechanism, I guess, for them.
Yeah.
So that they survive through the cold weather, falling out of trees and stuff. People are like, what do we do? It's awesome, dude.
Wow.
So funny.
That's really cool.
The geographics, but it must be nice, like and now you're dealing with nice warm temperatures, and here we are still trying to dealing with what snowstorms coming next.
I know. I'm sorry, you all.
Yeah,
it's all
totally
good.
fine.
All good. Well, it's great having you on, and we'll see you, I guess, next month. A month flew by.
Next month, yeah.
Our monthly.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It was really, really good.
Thanks, Georgia.
Yep. Check out the caricature of yourself.
Yeah, I saw it. It looks great.
I see that.
I'll send it to you. I can
posted
send it to you
on my Instagram.
It's on Instagram. I'll send it right to you. It's
great. Yeah, send it to me there.
I will, 100%. Because it literally, Dave, to be honest, like Georgia's looks that's the
closest
closest of anyone that you've done. That looks, I mean, it is like it's pretty spot on.
Yeah, good. I'm excited to see it.
Normally, I just laugh at it. Like one of the other shows I do, the guy doesn't have really any hair, and like.
Although Tracy Joyner's looks good.
That's what I said.
The Oregon soccer coach looks good. The women do definitely.
Yeah, they look. Yeah, they do a good job. I don't know why they're mean to us though.
Well,
I think
it's a personal problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Dave. That one you just did. That one's pretty.
That was close to accurate. I thought that was
for
closer.
me. It's really close. It really is. I'll give you that one. I'll send you the one I did. It was pretty funny because if you type it into ChatGPT and say, create a caricature based off of what you know about me, it's kind of funny. Some of the things that.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty it's interesting. Like. It's just funny.
It is.
Based off of, I guess, your algorithm or whatever.
I found a picture of you with like sunglasses and like.
Right. Yeah. I saw one like that.
That one looked pretty good, actually. I thought that one looked good. Yeah.
Well, as long as it's waist up, we're good. I usually tell them make me skinny, and then that's like nuts.
Yeah. I always ask it to make me skinny.
Put muscles.
Oh, that's great. That's
right. Tell me that's not. Tell me that's not as close as could possibly be to you. That literally looks like it took your picture and posted it.
I think that looks like you though, Derek. Dave, I don't know, but
yeah, I don't know. Because listen, there's so many pictures of me over the years.
I was just gonna say, Dave, there's so many things over the years.
Pictures from when I'm young. I've been doing this stuff for so long. There's pictures from when I'm like 30.
Yeah.
Okay, where I have all dark hair. I'm 25 pounds lighter. Like it's funny, but it's yeah. So like it depends on what picture I grab, and I think ChatGPT. I put so many pictures in there. I think it's very confused as to what I actually look like now. So like this one picture, I'm like, I look really jacked there, and then another one, I look like it's hilarious actually. But it's great. I bet you if I spent more time with it, I'm obviously whipping through these things because I'm doing so much, but yeah, I think it's a pretty cool feature that they added in there. It makes your thumbnails for YouTube look better. I think that's kind of where I'm using it more.
Right.
Because I think it makes it like, instead of like the other stuff where I try to put the thumbnails in, I put it into AI and I kind of put the description. It gives me something and it's okay. But I think this at least puts us in the thumbnail, which is better.
Right.
Yeah.
The other ones don't do it. Like when I put the name, it kind of like comes out all weird, so I just kind of keep it generic. You know what I mean? So this is better. I think it's better. Like it's amazing what AI can do. It really is. It's great, but
it's
scary.
Amazing and scary to me at the same time.
It is, right? It is kind of scary.
I'm training myself to be able to fight those robots one day. So
I love it. Right.
Hey, whatever you got to do, buddy.
All right, y'all. I have to hop off.
See you later.
Thank you, love.
See you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.
You all too.
Bye. Good stuff.
She's always so good, dude.
Yes, very good. Very good. Very good.
Just that whole side of it, man. I think it's just so, important. You know what I mean? And it's just something that we would have never, like, how much would it have helped if you could have just like talked to that person about your injury or what you were going through at the time, just to kind of like, hey, all your thoughts are on par. You know what I mean? Like, you're right in how you feel right now. Like, it's okay, but we're going to get through it, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just think to have somebody like that guidance or just like reassurance it would have been huge.
Yeah, it would have been great. It just
because I know you struggled. I struggled. We all struggled through that process, dude. Like, it was really hard. You know, like, that was hard to now. Okay, I mean, for you even more so, dude. I couldn't even imagine being told you're never gonna play again. You know?
Yeah, I was like that was that's a whole story in itself. Like how I was able to even get back to. I think
that too of like the whole like that process, man. Like, god damn.
The doctor I had in New York City, who was the best in the world, he did Dennis Bird and Joe Montana and all that stuff.
Oh, shit.
He was the one who first said I could come back, and he was way ahead of the curve medically back then.
Yes.
And most of these other guys were not, and they're like, he can't, you know, he's not gonna be able to walk. Literally what they
said. Because those guys literally probably aired like, you know, their thought process was like, hey, we're gonna err on the side of caution. Guess what? Like, you're never gonna, or we've never seen anybody come back from this or do this.
That's
type
what
gig,
it more
you know what
was.
I'm saying?
That's what it more was.
And that's not, and look, we both understand that, you know, like, but guess what? I'm a little different.
Well, yeah. Well, what they know now is that you can come back from it, but
yeah, but you didn't used to be able to come back from it.
No, they know that you had to get surgery if you wanted to, and you know, they were like,
here's what you have to go through.
Like, it's not worth getting surgery. You're a college athlete, right? So
it's the same way they used to, like, they would tell me, like, because I tore my ACL after my playing days were over, right? And they said, look, had you been, you know, slated to still play, we would have treated it this way. But my suggestion is, because you're not doing that anymore, right? Like, you're not playing, I think you should repair it this way, right?
Good point. Yeah, it was
you know, because it was, hey, use a patella tendon or use a hamstring or use a cadaver, right? And they were like, look, you're not playing anymore. You're not really going to be pushing this thing like you should. Let's just use your own hamstring. Whereas if you were still playing, I wouldn't want you to take a piece of your hamstring. I would have just gone cadaver because we can just plug and play, right? Or so that was like, I'm like, all right, whatever you think, like, you know, because now if we're using your own body part, we're less risk of infection, but the juice worth the squeeze. If you were playing, I'd rather not take from your hamstring. The infection risk isn't such a big thing for you to still have what you need, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? So there's a big thought process that goes into a lot of that stuff.
No doubt. No doubt about it. It was, yeah, it's just mentally, you know, going through it all. But it was really, it was really good. It was really good talking with her. What was I going to say? Who do we have tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have Chris Parno, assistant track coach from Minnesota State. So really cool. Like some of the posts that he's done, and some of the people that he's worked with, really high level athletes. You know, it'll be just interesting to hear that perspective from an assistant track coach at a high level and development and kind of what they go through or look to kind of do with those people and those guys. Like, I think it'll be a good one.
Sounds really good. Sounds good, man.
Yeah, if you look at some of his stuff, like it's pretty intense stuff, pretty good stuff, and a different, obviously, coming from a track coach at that high of a level.
Yep. It's really, really, it's exciting going through each one of these people and how they do things, and it's yeah, it's a really, really, really interesting world because there's so much information that you can gather on things.
Yes, and I feel like people now have the access to all that, whereas they obviously didn't, you know, at other times, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like and also like by networking and communicating with some of these people, like we can show perspective and, you know, like give an understanding that, again, most people wouldn't think could correlate with, you know, the topics we're talking about, or how could it help them? You know what I mean? Like, but hey, like, this is how it can help you. Or, oh, maybe we should train that way. You know what I mean?
No doubt about it. The whole the training aspect is really
Oh God, you're killing me, dude. Because every time you put out something, I'm like, Jesus, like, should we be doing this? You know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well,
I mean, great questions to have and
you
great
know what I
places to
want?
go.
I'm going
But
to give you one. I'll give you one thing that I'm really investigating. I don't want to go. I don't want to say I'm fully on board with this, but it's something that I'm looking at, and it's not something I could even. You know, my son's too young to work this through, but just kind of doing my own research, and I'm doing some stuff with myself, like is how I feel on certain things. But I'm a little. My one thing is this: can we get some of the strength benefits we need and explosive benefits we need without doing the squat as much as we do? Because I feel like it's a lot of weight on your back, and I'm trying to you know, I know the benefits that squat has had for me, but I also know like I'm completely, even though we've had guys on that love the regular dead. I think the regular deadlift, not the trap bar, but the regular deadlift is good for the groin and all those kind of things. But I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze. Like, you're better off with lower weights. Why bother throwing your back out? The thing that ruined my back was at the time was I was deadlifting an insane amount of weight. Okay, insane. I'm talking like 600. Okay, and I would do it, and it was one of the things that I had pride in. Like, I could squat a good amount, but I could deadlift it. Maybe my backside was very strong. I don't know. Well, you know what? It ended up like I ended up having an injury because of it. You know what I'm saying? So what did it matter how strong my back was when it ended up ruining my spine, right? Like, not ruining it, but like, because I amazingly have been able to do things between the going upside down. I've helped my back tremendously.
Inversion, what is it? The inversion table or whatever?
Derek, there's almost no stuff unless you really dive into YouTube on it. Like, people don't talk about it. The only reason I know about it is because my uncle, his business is technology for software for chiropractors.
Got it.
So he all he does is, like, for 40 years meet with chiropractors, and they were like, back, you know, he was having problems. He said, "Why don't you try an inversion table?"
Greatest thing ever.
It's unbelievable. He's at a whole different level, dude. He's maintained his height. He's in his mid-70s, and he looks unbelievable.
It's
but
amazing.
he actually hangs like Batman. Like, he's completely inverted now.
It's crazy.
But he's been doing it for so many years, you know. Completely.
Of course.
He has the boots that you hang like your bat.
Right. Yeah. Like outside, he's like a bat.
He's literally like a bat. But it's
amazing.
But like, on the base level, the inversion table is, you know, short of, you know, you being willing to hang like a bat, it gives you all of that.
It just elongates, it stretches everything out for you. Look, we're fortunate to have, like, one of our assistant coaches is a chiropractor, right? And so that's, like, you know, that's really awesome to have that on staff. You know what I'm saying? But some of the stuff that he talks about, I'm like, dude, this is wild, you know?
Yeah, I just think that, like, some of the stuff, like you really, at a certain point, you're not getting that much level of performance out of it, right? Like, does that increase? I mean, it really depends on your position, I guess. But, like, even a line, don't you need them at some point to become more explosive than not just?
Okay, there's levels of, everybody can benefit from it, but there's levels to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just think putting it on your back all those years, like, you're eventually leading yourself.
Brutal.
You're leading yourself to it, and every high school coach does it around the country, and I'm just like, I don't know, like, I just don't know. So that's one of my things. I'm trying to, like, am I overly sensitive to that? Maybe. But I don't know. Like, I just think why would like you could do you want to stimulate the spinal column to succeed, right? So there is
Right.
some level of stimulus that goes there, but after a certain point, now it's not stimulus, now it's stress,
Got
right? So and so there's so stimulus would be like taking I don't know, like a 25-pound plate and like moving side to side, like twisting with it. That provides a good amount of stimulus for your spinal column. Like you're trying to like everything comes. What I'm learning is from your spinal column, and then it relates it to your muscles, and it gives you the ability to do certain things, right? So it's figuring out what gets that going, and like, dude, when they showed the study of like sprinters have some sort of crazy percentage bigger hip flexors over everybody else, like Olympic sprinters. So it tells you like, okay, now you don't want to go crazy with that, right? All of a sudden you put a lot of stress on the small muscle, which is the hip flexor, and now a guy pulls it, right? So you don't want to do that either, but you want to build it. Like, I mean, it's really, really interesting. And one of the things that I do like about listening to like the guy Chris Corfus, he was a football player like us. He played at Northern Illinois. Like he was a high level football player, so he understands what all those things are too. You know what I mean? Like he did do all the back squats. He did do all those things. So it's interesting, but and you know where it all comes from, right? All the big squatting and deadlifting all originally comes from Nebraska.
Yep.
Because they really were the first to do strength and conditioning and had so much success. But it's really that they had an innovation, which was actually lifting hard that nobody else had. And
nobody did that.
And plyometrics, and nobody really did that. So that's the hardest thing about all of it. It's like you could innovate in an area that gives you an advantage, but once everybody innovates in that area, in the same area like you do, you might actually realize that there's another way to innovate that might be better, which is where we're at in strengthening it. Like I look, Bill is attacking the Instagram. Bill Parisi. Have you seen it? Attacking it.
I have not.
Oh, you got to follow him, dude. He's got good stuff. Like, you know, he's another good person from that standpoint. Like he also was like us, like did all those kind of things. Like he was a high level javelin thrower and like went through all that process of it and like learned of it all. But it's very interesting. The biggest thing is you want stuff to translate on the field. Like that's the bottom line. Like, you know, does it translate?
Right. That's important.
That's the biggest thing. Like, does it translate? And by the way, we won. The St. Leo's won the whole thing in basketball.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they
That's
won.
cool. What age is that?
Both groups won, varsity and JV, which is like 8th and 7th, and then 5th and 6th they won.
Got it.
Which was man,
impressive.
Well, you know, like Troy it was like a backup on that team, but like played great. But like he learned his role on there. Like in that,
did he get to play a lot or no?
Almost all the games he got to play a good amount, and the games that were some of the tighter games, they had fifth quarter, but not when the playoffs. But
all that stuff goes out the window come playoffs.
They blew out most of the teams, so even in the semifinals. Oh, he played a ton in the semifinals. Like he scored 4 points in the championship game. They were up. They ended up being up by a lot. They beat St. James, and he only played like literally like 45 seconds, you know, in that game.
Right.
But they won by 19 in that game.
It's awesome. It's really good.
But there was an 8th grader, I'll tell you, for St. Leo's. He dropped 24 in the semifinals and he dropped 30 in the finals. He was unbelievable, and he's so unassuming and so calm. He actually played in our flag league one winter. You know what I mean? Great kid. It's very interesting to see And you know what I was most shocked at? The crowd, Derek.
A lot of people.
There had to be 500 people at the JV game, probably about 250, 300 at the what do you call it?
Come on, man! Everybody loves youth sports.
Well, no, it really was the Catholic school thing, I think. You know what I mean? Because it builds all the way to a championship. It's, and I like the fact that their coaches are like actual.
Did you coach it?
No, they have regular coaches, like you would have in high school. They have one of the guys is a parent, but his kid is a daughter. She plays on a different, so he's coaching even though he doesn't have a boy in it.
Right.
And then the 7th, 8th grade, they're run by like 25-year-old guys, maybe 25, 30-year-old guys. Like they're not like obviously having kids. So it's really interesting. So they're coaching you like it's high school, dude. That the only way I could put it is like they're getting coached like they're in high school.
Well, that's awesome. What's better than that?
Structure, like they have to be there. Like, obviously kids occasionally miss it, younger kids, but you've got to be there. Like they start stretching at X time. Like,
make sure you're there.
You got to be there a couple minutes before just so you're ready to go.
You're held accountable.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job with that. And they can. That's the difference.
They're allowed to.
They're allowed to hold you accountable.
That's big, man.
Like how many schools can you say oh, your parents can't watch?
Not at that level.
No, but they are able to implement it. And
it's closed practices?
Closed practices. They let you at the last 15 minutes, they allow you to stand in the doorway and watch. So you're basically watching, usually the last 15 minutes of basketball, they're in some sort of scrimmage thing. And you could watch that and then you watch them run sprints. And then, but outside of that, but I like at first I was like, but I was like, wow, it's really good. I watched him learn how to play a role, even if he is better. Just there's not you had to learn it, and you got to be able to push some of your frustrations and focus on what you got to do. Like you have to learn to do that. Like you really had to learn to it doesn't matter what you think. It only matters what the coaches think. It doesn't matter what dad and mom thinks. Like,
oh yeah, don't matter that. Yeah, like
I'm just saying, if he asked, oh, do you think I could tell you what we think, but what matters is that the coach sees it, right? So you have to figure out whether it's outside of practice or in practice, whatever gets you better, to help the coaches see what you want them to see, right? Like that's the thing.
You can create that narrative, or you can build are you a lazy player? Are you a worker? Can you shoot? Like you can build that with what
I said. You got to be the first guy in sprint. Like I watched him the first week run sprints, and was like, oh, I'm tired. And I watched him at the end of the year. He tries to win every sprint. So it becomes like a thing where now there's some kids that are good players that don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Even though they're good players, that's not the way that they approach it. And I'm like, your job, okay, whether I agree with the style of certain things or not, your job is to try to be first in every sprint.
Okay. Because you can control that.
You can control that. I get it. Listen, I don't doubt that you're exhausted and you might have a day you're off and you're not but you're in general, your job is to try to be first in every sprint, to do it to the best of your ability.
What is that? Is that, dude, do you hear that beeping? Is that like you?
That's my notifications.
Oh, okay. Because sometimes I was like, I'm hearing it through the last couple of days. I've been hearing it the last couple of days through a podcast. I'm like, shit, are our guests now is that coming through or whatever? I was like, I can hear it. I'm like, I don't know what it is.
I don't know I can't figure it out.
Like you can't silence it?
I silence it when I see it. And then there's another one that comes in. I don't know how to.
I just didn't know. I was like, what the fuck?
It's coming from somehow my phone is connected.
Oh, is it linked up?
but I don't know how to get rid of it. I don't know. Like, I have to figure it out because it happens at my
I was just wondering. I'm like, oh shit.
I have a Mac, like a mini.
Oh yeah, that's right. You always have the Mac.
I have a laptop, but then I have a Mac Mini that goes above, so I can like look up stuff. So when I'm like looking up, I'm looking and researching something. So, but I can't. It happens in both. I just don't know. I don't. It's funny. I can figure out certain things. Like it's somewhere in my settings. I just maybe I just haven't gotten around to it. But when I click on the other computer too, I don't know why. Mac Mini's great, by the way. It's $500, and like so if you have a laptop, but you want to like not always have to look at your laptop or connect it to a like you could connect it. It's the tiniest thing. Have you ever seen it?
No.
This is what it looks like. This is the size of it. See it? I'm showing it to you. That's it.
What is that?
That's a computer. It's a Mac Mini. It's basically the same power as your laptop. But like if you were to get like a Mac computer, like a regular desktop, which are usually they're so expensive, dude. But you get a Mac Mini, it's basically as powerful as the laptop.
I was just gonna say, like, what do you do on that? Like,
it's a computer.
How do you like?
So I don't have to like always attach my laptop to my monitor. It just stays on connected to my monitor the whole time. Computer, and then and you could tie it to your laptop the way the technology is now. So you could link it, and it links to to your laptop, and then you could pull any documents that you have on that also on the same thing through the cloud. It's sick. It is, and the difference in price. This is like 500 something. And
yeah, Macs were expensive for a really.
Well, if you get a regular Mac with the monitor Mac, that's like $2,000, $3,000. If you get a laptop, it's like the cheap one's probably $1,000. After that, it's like $1,500. So you get a Mac Mini, which is basically as powerful as like a good laptop, and you connect it. You don't have. You have to have this. You have to have a mouse. You have to have your own. You have to have a monitor already. Like so, but you probably have them all laying around your house. Like I was
That's what I'm saying. Like all those extra things you already have.
Like Nicole got it for my birthday, and I was like, I didn't want to like. She wasn't going to spend for a monitor like a big one. And I was like, let's do this. I'll go in with you on it and we'll get this. And then it'll, and I said to the guy, I said, what's the downside to it? He's like, the downside is if you don't have like an HDMI cable, you don't have a monitor, you don't have a mouse, you don't have a keyboard laying around your house, you got to buy all those things. And basically it ends up being the same price as you would have. But if you already have, I have it sitting here, So I was like, dude, I'm not paying $2,000 for another because my laptop is so old. It's like at least 10 years old. So, sometimes you see like sometimes I get clicked out on things, and so I'm like, let me get all my storage off of here because I'm just fucking screwing up my laptop. So I'm trying to get it all off of there and put it on here. And that way I don't have a problem in my videos. So, and just use this for my videos or if I got to travel. But it's amazing. It really is amazing.
It's awesome. And now with phones, like where I can create a hotspot anywhere, right? I can have Wi-Fi all over the place. It's fucking awesome.
So wait, what can you do?
I can use my phone, my personal phone. I can use for like a personal hotspot. So like, let's say
your laptop,
right. Well, so like let's say we're in the car, right? And I have an iPad for my daughter, right? Like just so she has something. So if like I can download stuff, but that takes storage. So if I want to like have her watch Disney Plus and put on fucking Bluey in an hour car ride up north, like I can just create a hotspot on my phone, put it right there for her, and she's good to go. Like, thank you, right? Or some of these little like interactive games that I can do for her to learn colors or numbers or whatever baseline shit, and I can track it all but she always has like Wi-Fi and internet where, you know, obviously when you get on a plane, you gotta have things downloaded or whatever, but she's already been a part of that. Like she understands she has plane etiquette, which is pretty cool for a fucking 2.5-year-old, you know what I mean? Which is wild, but she loves it. Fuck. The only thing I got to worry about is making sure I have a fucking window seat, so she's constantly looking out the window. The only 2.5-year-old I know that's like calming other people down as we're going, like up in the air. Because you know how flights are. She's like, it's okay. It's just a little bumpy. Like she got no clue, but it's just amazing, dude. Like she's phenomenal on a plane, which is funny.
That's incredible. Awesome.
Yeah, man. I'll take that. If anything, it's like telling the wife, like, hey, do you understand? Like our kid's good to travel. Let's go. Time to go. Like, hey.
Well, if it stays cold like this many more years.
Brutal, bro. Brutal.
Absolutely brutal how cold it is. But all right. Well, today's supposed to be warmer, so hopefully that all comes to fruition. I saw somebody else. We'll talk. We'll talk offline some of the stuff. I had a question for you. I'll give you a shout. Tomorrow we have the Minnesota State coach, and then
Thursday, Coach Breaker from Glassboro. God, I really hope he gets on because I'd love he's hot. He's hot right now. You know what I mean? Like he's got 2 state championships. He's running the table. He's winning everything. He's producing high-level dudes. I mean, Oregon's visiting Group 1 schools, right? I mean, like, come on, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fucking awesome. So he's got to, like, the kid verbal to Alabama, you know, like he's playing up now. Like, I think it's, you know, it's just cool.
It's very, very interesting. I'd love to hear what he's doing.
Me too. Like, I just want to hear his approach. You know, he is different, right? I mean, cut sleeves, cowboy hat. Like he don't, you know, like, I don't know. He's just, you know, he's in the limelight right now. And I'm one of those guys, like, I don't care what you're doing. If you're winning and guys, you know, like there's nothing negative, like guys are going to come at you when you win. I want to know like how you did, like he's taking it on firsthand. Like, hey, whatever, dude. So it'll be cool. Give me a shout.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, there.